Welcome to another edition of Diplomatic Channel. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Airstrikes between the United States and Iran continued into the days this past week, with both sides blaming each other for violating an MOU signed last month, which was still under negotiation. By the end of the week, Iran rejected a ceasefire proposal from the United States president after he threatened to escalate the war and target Iran's critical infrastructure. Details of the ceasefire proposal were not immediately clear, but Iranian officials said it was the only offer on the table and that their government was not interested in a temporary deal that left the question of control over the Strait of Hormuz unresolved. Iran and the United States have steadily escalated tensions over the past few weeks, with American forces sending strikes to Iranian military bases, as well as infrastructure like railroads, airports, bridges, and seaports. Iran has retaliated with strikes and drones on American military targets in the Middle East. At the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Foreign Minister meeting in Kyrgyzstan, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi warned that the escalating conflict with the United States threatened not only Iran, but also the foundations of international law. In his words, the Islamic Republic of Iran chose the path of diplomacy and dialogue, and negotiations were underway to settle differences. The response to diplomacy came not through negotiation, but through a military attack. He says such behavior undermines confidence in diplomacy, calls into question the credibility of mechanisms for the peaceful settlement of disputes, and carries a dangerous message for the future of international relations. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps spokesperson Hossein Mohebi claims Tehran's attacks on U.S. bases across the region had inflicted major losses over the previous 2 weeks. He claims that over the previous 15 days, Iranian forces had hit 7 command and control centers, 3 satellite communication systems, and 6 radars linked to Patriot air defense systems. He also claimed Iranian strikes had also hit numerous aircraft maintenance sites, fuel facilities, and weapons stores. Meanwhile, Bahrain's defense force has accused Iran of repeatedly targeting civilian and vital facilities. Over the weekend, U.S. forces boarded 1 tanker and disabled another as they continued enforcing a naval blockade of Iranian ports. CENTCOM, which released videos of the attack, says the clips showed operations carried out on Friday and Saturday in the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea. On Saturday, CENTCOM said it had redirected 12 commercial vessels it accused of trying to breach the blockade, disabled tow that failed to comply, and boarded 2 for checks. Back in the United States, petrol prices have surged as America's conflict with Iran chokes global oil prices.
It's like hitting 2 birds with 1 stone, because you're able to get like the best price, I think, for gas that's anywhere around, and you're also able to take care of your needs. So it's a convenience, and also just the price is usually the lowest in the area.
The war in Iran is really affecting more the country than anybody else because of the gas prices. I feel like all citizens are not happy with it, and it's pushing us to sometimes like just don't even go out anymore, you know? So it's hard.
U.S. President Donald Trump recently claimed he prevented Israel from being hit by Iran's nuclear weapons.
But, you know, look, if I thought they were anywhere near getting a nuclear weapon, if I wasn't elected, Israel would, in my opinion, not be around anymore. They would have been hit by a nuclear weapon. And that includes right at the beginning with Barack Hussein Obama's nuclear deal that was so bad with Iran. That was a road to a nuclear weapon. And maybe even more so, the B-2 bombers. If that plane right there, that plane, that beautiful plane, the wing, it carries the largest bombs in the world. If that bomb didn't go over their 17-hour flight, and it hit every one of those bombs, hit their target, and the target was an air shaft at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's hard to believe, right? Going at very tremendous speeds. Every one of them hit and blew it to hell. If that didn't happen, they would have had a nuclear weapon and there would be no Israel.
And now we are wondering if Trump's nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia is still on, after the U.S. president announced conditions for signing the deal on Thursday. Trump said the civilian nuclear cooperation deal with Saudi Arabia is totally subject to the kingdom normalizing relations with Israel as part of the Abraham Accords. He did say on his Truth Social handle that the agreement will be approved, but is totally subject to Saudi Arabia joining the very respected and successful Abraham Accords. Saudi Arabia is yet to respond to the claim, as any acceptance of normalizing ties with Israel under the Accords will represent a major pivot for Riyadh, which has long opposed such a prospect. But here's what we do know. The nuclear deal is expected to last 30 years, transferring U.S. technology and expertise to the kingdom to help meet the kingdom's growing energy needs. According to the Wall Street Journal, one provision of the deal would potentially see U.S. companies build a uranium enrichment facility in the kingdom. The Saudi Ministry of Energy says the agreement bolsters efforts to diversify energy sources, advance cutting-edge technologies, and expand opportunities for cooperation and investment in ways that serve the mutual interests of the two friendly countries. What's next? The deal needs to be submitted to the U.S. Congress for review. And as of Wednesday, neither Congress nor the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Mike Waltz, had seen the deal.
Can I just be clear for the record? I understood you to mean the MOU that with Iran. I have not seen any
I'm
proposed
talking about Saudi
agreement
Arabia.
with Saudi Arabia.
So you have not.
Here's my
okay,
confusion.
so
No, I have not.
Oh, so you've not read. Okay, well then he won't share it with you or us until some later date. He'll have to share it with us at a later date. But the press reports indicate that there'll be no that Saudi Arabia is not agreeing to the additional protocol. The United Arab Emirates did agree to the additional protocol. Is there any reason we should be bombing Iran because they won't agree to limit their nuclear program while telling Saudi Arabia we give them the green light and they don't even have to agree to these additional
absolutely.
inspections?
Back here in Nigeria, the German Foreign Minister Johann Vadpol was in the country on a brief visit to deepen economic relations with Nigeria. He led a strong business delegation to Nigeria, some of which members have already established partnerships with the Nigerian government or hope to do so. They say there are no permanent friends nor permanent enemies in international relations. But for Germany, Nigeria is a friend it intends to keep close because of its strategic importance to the continent of Africa and Europe. Germany's Foreign Minister Johann Vadpol re-emphasized that importance when he highlights the main reason he is in Nigeria.
Trade and investments are key pillars of our partnership. I'm therefore particularly pleased to be visiting Lagos today together with a German business delegation in order to deepen our economic ties even further. Energy is an area in which we can significantly promote our cooperation by building on existing German-Nigerian energy partnership and on the work of our H2 Diplo office. The conflict around the Strait of HORMUZ is once again demonstrating the important role Nigeria can play as a reliable energy supplier to the democratic world.
And while countries of the world are doubling down on immigration laws, Mr. Vadpol says Germany is making room for more Nigerian students who wish to study in the country.
Nigerians' young and dynamic IT talent has the potential to become an important partner for Germany's Mittelstand, a beautiful German word well known worldwide. We are closely working together to address the challenges of digitalization and demographic change. Many of our cooperation projects focus on skill development and job creation for the youth.
Members of Mr. Vadpol's delegation are German business executives, either already invested in Nigeria or here to begin partnerships.
What we're doing with the Nigerian government is we create a digital backbone for their national electrification program, so that they know where there's about 80 million people in Nigeria that don't have access to modern electricity. And the question is, how do you best reach them?
I'm in Nigeria because I think that the technology we are providing, which is to monitor large infrastructure like roads, pipelines, train tracks can be very beneficial for Nigeria. And we would like to expand possibilities of cooperation with local construction companies in Nigeria to help them to make their construction last for many, many years to come.
It's a full couple of days for the German delegation, which intends to discuss other issues such as regional developments, peace and security, and economic integration for Nigeria and for West Africa. Our interview this week is an exclusive with the outgoing Dutch Consul General to Nigeria, Mitchel, who's been in the country for 14 years now. Consul General Deelan has now set his sights on his next assignment in Malaysia. Mitchel Deelan, outgoing Consul General of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Thank you for speaking with us one more time on Diplomatic Channel. This will be your second exit interview, and I keep saying you will be back.
Thank you very much. It's good to be in the program.
You've had quite a long stay in the country. It's such a pleasure having you here. But as you prepare to leave the country, what moments and experiences stand out for you as the defining highlights of your tenure, both professionally and personally?
I think professionally, last year we had quite a big highlight when the Netherlands returned a number of Benin bronzes to Nigeria where they belong. Better late than never, but 119 objects from a museum in the Netherlands were returned. Some are in the museum here in Lagos, but most of them actually went back to Benin City. And I think that was something that needed to be done. And I'm very happy that we all could contribute to that from the Dutch side, from the Nigerian side, to make that happen. I think that's really a good thing that we could do that.
And the fact that this happened in your tenure as Consul General.
Yes, it's an issue that we've been working on for even before 2019, but I got involved myself in 2019 with this. So yeah, it took a long time. It took a long time for Musea also to realize that it's not about hoarding objects. It's about telling the story of these objects. And if the story of the object leads you to Nigeria and you find out that the object actually should be in Nigeria and not in the Netherlands, it takes a while to think through all that. But in the end, and we were not the only ones. I mean, recently Switzerland also returned a number of objects. Germany has returned objects. So I think that's a good development.
Well, I'll ask you what I also asked the Swiss delegation when they, repatriated those artifacts from Switzerland. Would they be missed in the Netherlands?
No, you see, the beauty of it is that we can show in the museum in the Netherlands the history of these objects and what happened to them. So 119, not all 119 were on display. There was a set on display and the other ones were in storage. So they belong to Nigeria, they belong in Nigeria, but museums also exchange objects. So some of them can still be on display in the Netherlands, and then there's a nice sign to it saying on loan from the National Museum or whatever of Nigeria to the Netherlands. So people can still see it, but now these objects have a much more interesting story to tell because they were returned. It's not just, object from Nigeria, or we don't know exactly what it is. No. These objects have come back to life again.
The Netherlands and Nigeria enjoy strong trade, agricultural, and even maritime ties. Looking back now, what tangible progress are you mostly proud of? And where do you believe the next Dutch Consul General should focus his attention?
I think in the last 2 postings that I had in Nigeria, we focused a lot, initially a lot on agriculture, and more specifically vegetable farming in Kano, Kaduna, in Oyo, and in Ogun State. And that was for many reasons. It's because we have the knowledge in the Netherlands to basically increase yields, but it's also to support farmers in Nigeria and the whole discussion always about food security or food insecurity, and better quality food and post-harvest losses and all those details. So we focused a lot on that, and I think it was important to do so, and we are continuing to do so. So there's a program that is called Horti Nigeria, which runs until this year, and we will surely continue our investments in that specific sector. But whilst doing so, of course, you discover that further down the chain there are many other challenges. Yeah. Talking about logistics, warehousing, storage, packaging. So I sincerely hope that in the next stage we move more to sort of agro-allied industries. That it's not just the farmers you help, but you also make sure that the products reach the market, and that actually the products, that you add value to the product. So that's I think one thing that we should focus on from now on more than we did before. But there are also other sectors. We, as the Netherlands, have always been active in maritime infrastructure. We are a low country on the North Sea. We have, with the port of Rotterdam, the biggest port in Europe.
Which you have managed well, I would say.
Thank you. Yeah, so because the logistics inside the port is mostly automated, and so on. So those are things that we're also looking at in Nigeria, from coastal protection to basically modernization of the ports. I know there are also other countries looking at these type of projects, but I think together we can assist Nigeria in making sure that the ports will work in a better, more efficient way.
Well, Nigeria has already gone through significant economic changes in policy, reforms. I remember the last time we were here, we were talking about some of the challenges faced by Dutch businesses in the country, and there were quite a number of them. How do you think that the investment climate has evolved in Nigeria, from that time till now, and what opportunities do you think remain underexplored?
I'm actually very happy that we're now in a situation where things have improved. You mentioned Dutch businesses, but I think there's not really much of a difference between Dutch businesses or Nigerian businesses or any businesses that operate in Nigeria. They all face the same similar challenges. And, we had serious economic problems some years ago, devaluation, inflation at the same time. Then before there was the problems with COVID, and before that the oil price went down. So there had really been a series of years when Nigeria's economy was so challenged that it actually went from the biggest economy on the African continent to number 3 or 4. And I'm actually happy that in the last year of my posting here, I could see Nigeria's economy picking up again. And you can see that with the companies, you can see that with the new investments. Last week there was an article in the international press that the Nigerian Stock Exchange was the best performing stock exchange in the world, in dollar terms. So, I think those are very, very good indications that Nigeria is on the right track. Doesn't mean Nigeria is there. Not one single country has reached the perfect situation. Also in the Netherlands, we struggle sometimes, and then we find a new way forward. And in Nigeria, there are still many, many things to do. But I think the right track has been identified. But there are a number of problems. If you talk about Dutch businesses, the challenges, of course, there are still a lot of challenges with red tape, bureaucracy, and I know the government is aware of that. We have PEBEC, who try to make it easier for businesses to do business in Nigeria. There's a certain form of deregulation. So I'm sort of hopeful that will lead to increasing the ease of doing business in Nigeria. But the bureaucracy is, of course, quite a brake sometimes on investment in any country, but also in Nigeria.
But do you think that should be a concern, for countries that are intending to invest in Nigeria? I mean, the president does such a great job, of selling Nigeria, to the rest of the world, with the current realities on the ground. Do you think that he's probably presenting a larger than life image or impression of the country?
No, it's good to be positive and optimistic. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think every president, prime minister, king, whatever, will sell their country and will do promotion. I mean, we do promotion for the Netherlands. Nigeria does promotion for Nigeria. It's not, you know, it's good to have that positive and optimistic sound. And I truly believe in that, because if you look at the opportunities in a country like Nigeria, both population and market size, but also the huge group of young, smart Nigerians who can contribute to further economic development. I think that's really, there's many, many good reasons to invest in Nigeria. There are also sort of geopolitical reasons. If you look at the map, Nigeria is sort of situated between the United States and China. And I think in that trade issue, Nigeria can play a very interesting role as a place, as a manufacturing hub, as an agricultural export hub. But for that to happen, then certain things need to be put in place. But I think surely, you know, these things have really a potential of happening in Nigeria. So to tell a positive story, yes. But, you know, if you are an investor and you heard the positive story, the next thing you will do is you will Google and you will find. And then you see whatever insecurity or kidnappings or things like that. So the story is always balanced. So there's nothing wrong with telling a positive story about Nigeria.
So we were talking about some of the challenges on the ground in Nigeria, and I think we identified education. And then I was asking, you know, how do you balance, you know, getting a good education with skills acquisition? Because now many Nigerians are more concerned about, you know, how to make more money, how to be successful. I mean, whatever success means to each person, people are more concerned about that.
Yeah, that is a challenge, because then people might think that education is no more necessary, or I can teach myself, or I can... but simply taking a step back and looking at how countries develop their economy. And I'm not saying that's a blueprint for Nigeria, but if you look at, you know, 2 centuries ago what happened in Europe, but if you look more recent what happened in Asia, the Asian economies, how come they grew so fast? And education played an important role in that, because if you increase your industry, so basically your factories, if you increase your agriculture production, then those who work in industry and those who work on the land should have a basic knowledge, at least, you know, at least. Read, write, count, think smart, be innovative, come up with ideas. And you reach that level at a certain moment once a certain part of your population has had good education. And I'm simply talking about primary and secondary education here, because that's what you need to build up your economy. Otherwise, you keep on sort of struggling, and you will simply not have the industry able to manufacture things. Or you will not have that green revolution in the agricultural sphere if the people haven't reached a certain level of good education. So I think it's extremely, extremely important to invest in that, to invest in education and to make sure that Nigerians can benefit from all the opportunities that are out there.
Lagos is often described as one of Africa's most dynamic cities, and I would say Africa's most dynamic city. I mean, I am prejudiced about this. You've lived here, you have worked here 14 years. What have you learned about Nigeria that probably changed your previous assumptions of the country before you arrived?
I started my career in Nigeria in January 1999 when I came as a junior diplomat to the then Dutch embassy in Lagos. And then after a while, the embassy, after 1 year, the embassy sort of closed in Lagos and moved to Abuja. So then I spent 2-3 years in Abuja and traveled all out the country in those days. So I had friends from the Netherlands who came to visit. We went by road to Lake Chad. We went to Kano. We went down to the border with Cameroon, to the Mambila Plateau. We drove to Port Harcourt. We went, so I'm actually very happy about those
You did
days.
more extensive travel than most Nigerians have the opportunity to do.
I did those trips in those days, and very happy to see of Nigeria. And these are actually beautiful locations because Nigeria has so many things to offer. And I think it's also good to see not just Lagos. But in the end, I became Consul General in Lagos, and although we look at the economy of the entire country, of course, most economic activities take place in Lagos. Most Dutch businesses have their base in Lagos, and Lagos is also the place where most Dutch nationals in Nigeria live. So I've seen Lagos actually grow very, well, in a very positive way.
So I see you already have all of your stuff packed. Everything is ready to go, and you are headed to Malaysia. What are you looking forward to? What are your expectations for your new posting?
Yeah, so it's not just me, it's me and my wife.
Of course, sorry.
So, because that's one of the beautiful things that, of course, I encountered in Nigeria.
That's true.
And as she would say it, that I would take from Nigeria. So we're going there as a team, because you have to do these things together. You know, if you have been living in a country like Nigeria as long as I have, and the duration is not any achievement. Anybody can live in a country for 14 years, but I always found it interesting and nice to meet new people, to do new things. Nigeria has never been boring for me. There's always come up with challenges and things that I really like to do and to discover. Now, in Malaysia, our new posting, I will definitely stay in touch with Nigeria, the Nigerian community, the Nigerian friends. I already looked at Google Maps. I saw, okay, this is where the Dutch embassy is in Kuala Lumpur, and that's where the Nigerian embassy is.
All right, Michel, Deelan, you're all packed. You're ready to go finally this time. Or maybe you will be back, but this time as a family member, not just, you know, as a diplomat who once served here. Thankfully, you're taking one of us with you who will be our ambassador wherever you go. We hope that you will always see Nigeria as home because, you know, we'll always take you as one of us. I said before, I think you need a Nigerian passport at this point. So we wish you all of the best, you know, as you move on to your next assignment. We look forward to all the wonderful things you'll be doing. We're following you on social media, keeping track of all the wonderful things you're doing, you and your lovely wife. And we hope to see you again soon. Wishing you all the best, Michel Deelan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
And this is where we end Diplomatic Channel this week. I hope it's been worth your while. Don't forget to leave a comment on all socials after watching using the hashtag DiplomaticChannelsTV. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Thanks for watching.